wow, this episode was just wow, dude. I was just speechless. The whole entire episode for me, from start to finish, was just a masterpiece. I loved everything about this episode, but specifically part B. Dude, the climax of this fight, that OST in the background, oh my god, it was just so fucking good, man. Now, for me personally, I think this is probably my favorite episode of this season. Yes, it even beats Maki for me. I know we got a couple episodes left for part 1 of the Culling Game, so we'll see how my ranking changes after it's all said and done. But as of right now, though, this is definitely my favorite episode so far of the season. But that's not to say the Maki episode was bad or like any of the other ones were bad as well, because overall the season has been really good. I genuinely love the direction of this season. I really like Goso as the storyboard because, dude, there's just so many scenes that are not included in the manga, and I feel like the anime just does such a great job elevating the source material from what we get in the manga. Don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people have their complaints when it comes to the manga, but the manga to me is good overall. But just the anime just elevates the source material to a different level, and you could just tell when you're watching this season, like every episode you're like you're just amazed. But this episode was just above the rest in my personal opinion. We finally got the conclusion between higuruma versus Yuji, and let's talk about the fight. Dude, the fight, I think the animator, I think this was his debut for this, for JJK specifically. I know he's worked on Super Cube and stuff like that. That's kind of how I found out about him and stuff, but this was his debut for JJK. And my goodness, bro, I already know his profile is gonna skyrocket once, you know, everybody watches it and stuff like that. You see the edits and everything, because dude, the hand-to-hand combat is probably some of the best I've ever seen, and just in general, like all shows I've seen and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's definitely up there as like in terms of like one of the best. Like, you just visually, it's so good. Like I say, he's an animator from Super Cube and stuff like that, and I can just tell just from this is gonna explode his profile even more. So I can't wait to see more of his work. But that segment to me was one of the best ones of the entire episode. Another thing too I really like about this episode, and really the last 2 episodes, really the direction of Higuruma, how his backstory is introduced and stuff like that. You could tell that he was pretty much a defensive lawyer. You know, he sees how corrupt the system is and stuff like that, which awakens his curse technique, I believe, and stuff like that. And you could, I think his thing is like a Shikigami, like the Judge Man thing, and he kills everybody in the courtroom. And, you know, pretty much he kind of changes the way he views the system and stuff like that. Not until him and Yuji fight it out and stuff like that. And once Yuji defeats him, he pretty much realizes, like, he comes back to his senses. And, you know, just that climax overall, you could really feel Higuruma and him kind of going back to those old ways and stuff like that. Like, oh shit, you know, I now remember the reason why I was doing this and stuff like that, because he wants to help people like Yuji, you know what I'm saying? Because if you've been watching the episode or like the last 2 episodes, you know that really overall, you understand that, you know, what happened in Shibuya wasn't Yuji's fault, even though Yuji takes, you know, accountability for it and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Higuruma's obviously shocked that Yuji just straight up just confessed. And by the way, the confession scene for me, like, just in general, bro, this entire episode was really good, because if you read the manga and you compare it to the anime, I feel like the anime just does such a great job with the OST, the color choices and stuff like that, the color palettes. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of like the red, but I personally like it because it goes from like red to blue to yellow. Like the contrast and everything is really nice. But like I said, going back to the Higuruma topic between Yuji and stuff like that, I personally really love how it was directed and stuff like that. I think they explained his techniques and everything really well. But like I said, my favorite part more than anything was like Higuruma's backstory. There was one scene in particular that was really cool. It kind of reminded me of Look Back, where you see Higuruma pretty much, like, you see the seasons change and his outfits change, and he was pretty much, he has so much potential to be like a sorcerer, like so much potential. And the fact that he hasn't even been doing this for very long either, I think like less than 2 weeks, and he's already mastered like a lot of techniques and stuff like that, already being compared to like a grade 1 sorcerer, it really speaks volumes to Higuruma as a character. But not just that, he's very smart, he's very compassionate, finding empathy in weak people that can't really defend themselves. But obviously he sees how corrupt, you know, the world is, the system is and stuff like that. But I think that's one aspect. I think that's the main reason why I like Higuruma as a character, because like I can relate to him, and you know, a lot of people obviously fuck with him, and especially if you're a lawyer or something like that, I feel like Higuruma is definitely a character that you'll definitely admire and look up to. But yeah, like I said, this episode for me just had it all: the OST, the fight, the background, just everything about this episode for me was just amazing. Like I said, overall the season has been really good. I've really been enjoying it ever since that Maki episode. They've just been, you know, going higher and higher and higher. For me, this fight personally was my favorite one in the manga. Just seeing it finally get animated was just, oh my dude. I'm telling you, you do not understand how many times I've watched that climax already. Just, oh, the OST was just so good. You could tell Higuruma really feels bad for Yuji because, you know, at the end of the day, he's not the one who really killed all those people. It was Sukuna who took over this body and stuff like that, which the reason why he finds Yuji innocent, and it kind of brings him back to, you know, what he was like, you know, why he became a defensive lawyer in the first place and stuff like that, to help people like Yuji, you know what I'm saying, that can't really help themselves and stuff like that. But you could tell at the end of the day, Yuji still takes a fault because at the end of the day, it's still his body and stuff like that. And, you know, Higuruma to me is also a complex character because, you know, at the end of the day, like, he sees how corrupt the system is and stuff like that, and him pretty much killing those people kind of gave him a sense of relief, but at the same time, it doesn't feel right for him to kill those people, if that makes sense. And if you saw that at the end of the episode, pretty much he asked Yuji, did you kill anybody? And then Yuji's like, yes, and then just goes silent for a little bit. And like, it's just one of those things, like, oh my god, they just do such a great job of capturing what the manga try to pretty much say and execute, and the anime just goes above and beyond, at least to me. Like I said, all this is my opinion, what I think about it and stuff like that. But yeah, overall though, I definitely enjoyed this week's episode. By far my favorite episode of this week. I love the music, I love the fighting, I love the animation. Just everything about this episode was just fantastic. Shout out to all the animators who worked on this episode. I believe Daniel Kim was the one who worked in the climax scene, and then Neon 41, his scene stood out to me, obviously, his debut and stuff like that. And then other great animators who worked on this week's episode. I believe next week is Reggie versus Megumi. I know that fight was really good in the manga. Personally, I really enjoyed it, so I can't wait to see how the anime tackles that and stuff like that. We only got a couple more episodes left till the season's over, but other than that though, I'm really excited to see how everything plays out. Let me know what y'all think about this week's episode. Overall though, how y'all enjoying JJK? I like to hear y'all's opinions and stuff like that. Like I said, if y'all want me to do more reviews on JJK, maybe not every week, but like, you know, big fights and stuff like that, I'll definitely give my thoughts on it and stuff like that. But yeah, appreciate all of the support. I love talking about anime, so yeah, whether it be the manga or anime or just a one shot, whatever the case is, I'll definitely talk about it. But yeah, appreciate all of the support, and yeah.